collective message. So here we are. And I was shuffling cards for myself, was it yesterday? And I decided to keep this up because I think it's fitting. And then Spirit pulled me towards a book, and it's about Lilith. And I was like, perfect. Five of Pentacles. Sometimes I use my tarot cards as a bookmark. And the one I choose to keep the page is never coincidental. It's never coincidental. If you're new here, hi, my name is Allie. I'm a tarot reader and intuitive coach for the last 6 years. If you're curious on my awakening story and how I became a reader, go ahead and check out my other playlist videos. I took a step back from the intuitive channeling paintings, but I do want to get back in that again. I really do. But I was in the time and season and had enough space to not have to worry about other things at the time, and it kind of helped me ground myself and get in my creative sphere during the chapter I was in. Right now I have other projects that are kind of taking up my time. If you guys haven't seen on the community page, some of those projects are the Third House Market, which is the eBay storefront. We sell vintage tarot collectibles and also more spiritual goods to come. We'll be looking for affiliates shortly, very soon. Also, Third House Community with Doug, and we're looking for readers that want to participate and put in an application. There will be an interview process. I did get some interesting feedback where I'm going to refine the application. Some people found it intimidating, some people found it off-putting or odd, and I want to say I understand, but when I explain my intentions of the group, it's more used as a filter system. Like, it's kind of like, putting a job post and then everybody applies. Doesn't mean that they're always fit or right for the role. But I also don't want it to seem like cliquey in any kind of way or dictating either. And then we also have the Signature of Us scans, which is Miriam's product, using her astrology formulas to find out what kind of connection are you dealing with. Are you dealing with a twin flame, a soulmate, a karmic? And there's also a few scans for your past life, and I don't know if it's called this, but it's basically the you that you haven't met yet, which I think is really cool because it represents like your most evolved state. And I've had a couple couple scans myself, and they were very enlightening, very helpful. They're not short either. Like, she put a lot of time and energy into this. And if you believe in timeline jumping, then that is definitely for you. With the proper information, it can get you far, right? Hi, good morning. It sounds like Spirit wants to talk about Lilith, and I'm all for it. Six of Pentacles, Seven of Cups. This has been kind of a trending word, is limerence. Let's dig deeper into that. Because sometimes limerence can also represent a scorpionic spiritual connection where you're energetically feeding off each other even if you're not connected to each other in the 3D. Kind of a crazy experience, right? Five of Pentacles, the King of Wands, the Magician. And now they want me to show the page in the book. 1 minute while I sip my coffee. Hi, Yagmir the First. Hello. Honest to God question. Seriously, what the fuck are tarot cards? I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. So before I got into tarot, if you're curious about my awakening story and how I became a tarot reader, because it was not always a thing. I was not one of those people that like stumbled upon it as just like a gimmicky hobby. It wasn't something I grew up with. If anything, very against, not me, but other people I was surrounded by. But I consider it as like art illustrations that can give you synchronicities and signs. However, you can get that from everywhere around you. Just a lot of people aren't conscious or aware of it. You could also consider tarot as like an energetic portal, a spiritual tool, and to me, it maps out a storyline that can show you a bird's eye view to your choices. Because it's my belief that we always have choices. But a lot of people don't like the choices that are presented to them. I think that's fair to say, right? And that's why tarot readers always say your free will. A lot of people will get tarot readings and not make a choice for themselves. And it's very unfortunate because then you get stuck and then you get readings asking the same question again and again and again, right? However, Miriam's signature of us scans would really help with that because it's not intuitive, it's more astrological. And so if you're one of those people that understands that math came from astrology, you'll really like that. You'll really like that. Read me my choices. Kellogg's Gaming 44. Alex? I was like, I have a friend that has like a similar username as you. Anyway, okay, getting to the Lilith book. So I apologize, but also not for the people that don't know the story of Lilith. But this is the page they took me to. As for Lilith, since she exists as the symbol of womankind's capacity for sexual bonding and appeasement that keeps the peace, i.e. maintaining and protecting humankind's natural, nonviolent, pacifistic state, she using big words I've never used before. She epitomizes the antithesis of patriarchal mythology. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Isn't Lilith a demon from hell cast out of a Garden of Eden? No, I'm about to tell you. Its organization and rule through war, conquest, and exploitation. Threatened and thereby detesting her, they were compelled to proclaim her exiled to some remote outpost. In fact, as we know, the Lilith is not really exiled, but departs of her own accord. That is until womankind individually and collectively call her back to recover her /their/our original nature. With respect to Adam, who repeatedly rejects her, this much is certain. His rejection of Lilith would have definitely followed her rejection of him because of his demand for sexual dominance. Rightfully so, for one of the prerequisites of natural sexuality that Lilith embodied within all women as sexual initiatrix, I don't know if I'm saying that right, would have taught is the necessity to have a mutual sense of equality, respect, and reverence for one's partner. Yeah, double tap to like the video. I know my women are feeling this right now. And I'm like, this is a different subject for today, but I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Especially with the male loneliness epidemic. I'm just interested in religions and all stuff. Me too, me too. Yeah, you should really check out my story on how I became a reader because it got me very curious about other cultures and religions and really opened up my own mind and the box that I was kept in due to environmental or societal and pressure and whatever. And I was like, you know, what if all of them are right? We always fight about, like, this is the way, right? But, you know, you can't grow and evolve from that mindset. Anyway, where did we leave off? Is the necessity to have a mutual sense of equality, respect, and reverence for one's partner, which meant regarding one another as twin reflections of their own divine nature. For only in this way could their souls have united and become blessed by the creatress mother power, and have been sanctified with a revelation of the unitary wholeness and mutual divinity. Clearly, Adam's, in parentheses, the patriarchy's, need for dominance and superiority utterly exposes his, parentheses there, ignorance and sense of inferiority and disdain for sexuality's true power that sanctified Lilith as the natural woman and those she taught. Oh man, that reminds me, a few years ago, I did have you guys heard of rewilding? Let me know in the comments. Have you guys heard of rewilding? Gosh, what is her name? The leader, Sabrina. She does like courses on how to get undomesticated, is what she calls it, and really embrace these kind of energies. So I did intense 3 hours of energy work doing this. And let me just say, there were some strings of events that happened that I cannot unsee doing that energy work. It was incredible. One day I'll share the whole story, but as of now, that's enough. It was like nothing I ever experienced before. Highly recommend. I can't remember. I don't know if the course was free. I think at the time it might have been free, but I know that some of her retreats are very expensive. But like, curious, if you're looking for something different and you're super into those kind of realms, energy work, and working with deities, highly freaking recommend. Highly recommend. I might have to go check out her page soon. So, this dynamic of sexual dominance and submission can be seen outpictured by the inequality between the male and female genders that still plagues the human race. Before the patriarchal subjugation, okay, of women, there existed no antipathy between men and women. They lived in an egalitarian society where each complemented the other to generate a synergistic, god damn, some of these words, synergistic. Everything is an ick, an IC with some of these words. And I'm like, bro, okay, synergistic, which makes sense. Synastry, I think, is what they're trying to explain. Outcome for communal endeavors. In essence, the sexual repression of women and the resulting distortions of this natural and sacred human power in many ways contribute arguably to the ongoing violence in our world, wrought at the hands of patriarchal men whose power is stealthily, deceptively, often shielded behind man-made religion. Wow, I didn't expect this book to get so deep. I've never read it, you guys. And when I do these kind of readings and I grab a book, I never start on page 1. It's usually somewhere in between. Men and women are equal in different ways. Exactly what they're trying to get at. But society has not been set up that way. Nah, I'm just joking. Just never understood tarot cards. Well, welcome. I wonder how we got onto your algorithm. Women who were once deeply respected within their tribes for their sexual powers, as described, eventually became ostracized, like Lilith cast out from Garden of Eden, as impure horrors, succubi, and evil seductresses. It got so bad that any woman who remained true to herself was seen this way, as the infamous handbook published in 1486 AD, Ascending Art Kali Yuga, titled Malleus Maleficarum, The Hammer of Witches. Curious about that. So if you've read that, let me know. So persuasively contended, as it professed to show men of the church how to identify and then destroy these women, it asserted that women by nature were agents and tools of the devil, and women are born in God's own words to entertain Satan in their private parts, and thus to endanger the souls of men. Okay, so why are men not held accountable for their own lusty desires? Can we talk about that? Hello, I've had nothing bad. Or, hello, I have had nothing but bad things happen to me. Anything good coming my way? If you're new here, please subscribe and put your notifications on, because I do free questions occasionally. But I have to be very grounded and intentional and make sure that my energetic bank account is filled when I do those kind of lives. I'm one of those readers, like, I'm not gonna clout chase and attention grab anything. Like, I want to give you clear, concise messages, and when I do those kind of lives, there's so much energy that floods through the chat, and it's like you're getting a mini personal read from me. Whereas where you go through, like, you know, most of the tarot readers will do all signs lives, whatever, and they're very vague and generic because it's a huge collective of Aquarius, Gemini, Scorpio, blah, blah, blah. Does that make sense? And so the free questions lives are a good way to get to know me as a reader, get to know the community in the chat. Yes. So I usually remember people that consistently come in. So if you come in on the free questions live and you put a question in the chat, I'll try to get to you the best that I can. Some days we have slow days, which I honestly appreciate. I like the slow chat days. Other days, the chat is flooded. It kind of depends when spirit wants me to come on. All right, where are we? In reality, can I talk? In reality, the antithesis to the fears and taboos that resulted from the patriarchy's agree-ghostly enlightened perspective and displays of outright misogyny is the factual truth that has been reiterated in this work over and over again, as that during the patriarchal sexual abuse of any kind was unheard of, a far cry from today's world. Even the mere thought about violating anything so sacred as one's sexuality would have been virtually impossible for our ancestors, who by culture tradition regarded its powers and all its sacrosanct. Especially hallowed was its manifestations in all women, who are not only sacred vessels for the creation of new life, but existed as living conduits to the unconscious realms wherein dwelled humanity's spiritual root. It's crazy because last night, you guys, my root chakra was on fire. Like nothing I've ever freaking experienced before. I also did like a community energy work with 3 readers. It was at a local apothecary shop, and they did root chakra cleansing on me. And it was one of those scenarios where it was like very personal to each person in the room. There was probably like less than 40 to 30 people in a small space. And when the healers got to me, they put their hands mostly on my root chakra, my crown chakra. Yes, those were the main areas, I think. The first time I did Reiki energy healing, she did my whole body. But last night's experience with my root chakra feeling on fire made me think about the last time I felt anything in my root chakra. I know that sounds weird, but I've been going through like an interesting process of being like more conscious of what my body is going through, because as I keep going through this journey, my body has only gotten more sensitive. You're a Sagittarius? First time here. Voiceless pilot. Why are you voiceless? I'm just curious. I'm very curious about your chosen username. Where are we? Okay. As such, they were regarded as embodiments of the Divine Mother and treated accordingly. Hell yeah. Compared to our ancestral origins, the existing state of human sexuality is deplorably heart-ending. I've never seen that word before. Does that mean disheartening? Anyway, rape and sexual violence abound. Female genital mutation is sanctioned in some parts of the world even today. Awful. Trigger warning, victims of rape are still unprotected fully by man-made law, being casted as the perpetrators of this most pernicious of crimes against the divine soul and its most sacred of powers. And if it could not get even worse, it does. Our most precious charge, our children, mostly those who are poor and unprotected by the powerful, have somehow become commodities for trade, sale, and profit in a horrendous global sexual slave market. Wow, we're going there, I guess. We're going there. I saw some people leave the chat. Hey, if this is not a good time for you to listen to this, I understand. Come back and watch it a different time, or if you're triggered, completely understand. The damage done to these souls, as well as the many others before them also sexually abused, will take lifetimes and generations of human sensitivity and compassion to heal. Beyond the human damage, there also exist karmic ramifications for all the residual pain and suffering inflicted upon all planetary life forms, beloved by our Earth Mother Gaia herself because of humanity's misuse of the most sacred creative power. That was amazing. But it's curious how the page bookmark gave me the Five of Pentacles, and here we have the Six of Pentacles. So it's basically giving you the key. King of Wands. Is it a male issue? And I'm sorry for the males, my male subscribers. I'm not saying this is all men, but I am saying that you are influenced. You have been influenced by these kind of ideas that started way before you were even born. One of my networks, I believe their channel is called No Destinations Podcast. It's a very small channel. They just started, but they talk about topics like this, and they recently posted about male and women ideas of the patriarchy and how the patriarchy is protected by other men, and how there's even women that are more male-centered because they benefit from it, but how it suppresses men's growth and evolvement spiritually. And they don't even realize it. But it sucks because it works for them. But it's getting to the point where it's like women don't want to date men. They're over it. They're sick of it. Divorce rates keep getting higher. People want to protect their children. Like, all kinds of issues have come from this. Anyway, natural sexuality and the tree of life's powers. Truly the primordial garden state of the eternal unity of consciousness once existed for all humans during the cynical genesis of their spiritual intelligence, where archetypal beings such as Lilith dwelled. This experience now is the momentary orgasmic bliss, psychic decompression, and uplifted state of consciousness from primary sexuality. The same orgasmic energies unleashed through our physical bodies still operate here, namely as a vehicle to gently recharge and reground our root with cosmic energy, although reflecting only a mere fragment of their expression, nature, and power. Primary sexuality is derived from the animal kingdom, where the recharge of its root through instinctual sexuality is designed for species reproduction, as well as improving the ability to integrate emotions. Anyway, this enlivens their connectedness and relationship to others of their kind. This same manifestation occurs for humans as well. However, it goes beyond that, beyond another expression of the universal nature inherent to human consciousness. The recharge of its roots generates the transgender state of unity wholeness as an eternal oneness, a state of orgasmic bliss that subtly enlives one's connectedness and relationship to all of creation. I like that. We're going to keep going. Unlike primary sexuality that reaches a peak and dissolves, the nature of its spiritual manifestation is perpetually self-sustaining, which means the individual, by virtue of sustaining their inner union to the creatress, either as a function of consciousness itself or through a union with a sexual partner, experiences this energy like a single, powerful electromagnetic circuit, recycling continuously and unifying their inner tree of life to the great mother tree. Interesting. Needless to say, when the circuit is fully activated, the heart becomes completely satisfied, right? Because deep intimacy feels like this. Not like this. This is what needs to end. Here's the crossroads. Ooh, 4 of Wands. Ace of Cups. The Hierophant. They're saying this has something to do with the Venus retrograde, 2 of Pentacles that keeps coming out for me. Oof. I just got nerve pain. I will have to stretch after this. Where did I leave off? Needless to say, when the circuit is fully activated, the heart becomes completely satisfied. In this state, the heart experiences spiritualized sexual union to all that it perceives, meaning its primal energy as orgasmic bliss is exchanged and reciprocated in self-perpetuating cycles with every breath, heartbeat that interconnects to all else, like oneself making love to all of itself. That's beautiful. Okay, we'll stop there with the book. No idea where the cards are taking me. The interesting choice of subject from Spirit. Rejecting you was protecting myself. I was being selfish. I feel overwhelmed. I am drowning in my own thoughts. I have karmic debts that have to be paid before I can come back to you. Yeah, I think a lot of males are going through this. A lot of them. And it's unfortunate because society forces males to suppress and repress their emotions, and even the way that you guys are biologically set up to deal with it is completely different than women. It's not to say that one is better than the other, but those are the current collective circumstances that we are seeing and dealing with, and there's like a new wave of awakened people, even men, that are seeing it and trying to make significant changes in their life. And if you're a male and you're watching this or you're going through this, I applaud you for trying, because there are so many unseen forces that impact you when you're navigating this, and it's not easy to deal with whatsoever. Men and women need each other. We really do. We really do. And I think a lot of the anger and the hurt that women are feeling is because we're crying and screaming and trying everything to show people, like, wake up. Wake up. Where is the love? We're going through an energetic threshold. The Four of Wands is always so interesting to me because it can represent a house, it can represent a celebration, but I also consider it as like an energetic threshold. It can also represent a date, like a date on a calendar, not like going out on a date, but it could. It could. Oh my gosh, my guides are so funny. My guides are so funny. What is that? Who sings it? If you know, tell me in the chat. But it's a rap song that starts off, "You hating outside of the club, but you can't even get in." And now they're like giving the beat. How does it go? Oh, is that where it comes from? Everybody in the club getting tips. Everybody in the club getting tipsy. So funny. Okay. So if you're trying to find love in the club, you might be looking in all the wrong places. I'm not saying that you can't find love in a club, but that is freaking hilarious. They keep like singing the song and I'm just like, oh my god, stop. Goes 1 to the 3 to the something something. It's almost like spirit is trying to give steps to the process of what's happening. And you know, depending like what you're passionate about, you might only see the surface of the symptoms of this. For example, the way that they're treating the earth, issues with like data centers, the weather changes that we're seeing because of the neglect on the earth, women and children's rights, the issues with jobs, everything being so damn expensive, water wars. I mean, pick a topic, pick a fucking topic, and it all lands on this issue. Call me crazy, I don't even care. I don't even care anymore. So water usually represents emotions. And so there are many people that are going through a spiritual awakening when it comes to their feelings. I love these cards. I'm very into, what do you call it? Not just poetry, but like scrapbooking. There's another word for it, but I can't think of it. Anyway, anybody experiencing ringing of the ears and it's not a diagnosis. Yes, ascend. We do have an eclipse. What is it, tomorrow? What day is it? Tomorrow. Ascension is not easy. It really isn't. Okay, curious. I don't know why for the first time I'm realizing these jewels, they kind of feel like they represent the chakras, at least in this reading. People finding their people based on like-minded values, which would line up with the astrology, Chiron and Taurus. And you know, there's nothing wrong. There really isn't anything inherently wrong with valuing your sexual relationship, your sexual needs, your sexual health. And when I did energy work with Sabrina and one of her rewilding courses, it really released a lot of shame that I carried generationally. Like, I come from a long string of women that have been in abusive relationships, and then you add on top of Catholicism, you know, the way that they word things and the way they shame women. Don't get upset with me in the chat, because if you know anything about my background, I did Bible study before I could even write. Like, I was that sheltered. Sunday school, private school, multiple masses. And it's interesting because, like, you know, bless my grandma's heart, I love her to death, but the way that she goes around religion, Catholicism now, I think it's a reflection of her grief from when my great-grandmother died, before I was even born. Mind you, my family came from different countries. They were immigrants, and one grandma married someone in the military, and another one did the same thing, but completely different. I know that's crazy. I was like, they both did the same thing, and then our families met, and then my parents married each other. But when you take that into account of, like, a tight-knit and meshed family that went through generational ancestral trauma together, you know, it's very hard to let go of. So she doesn't agree with a lot of these things. But the point I was getting at is, it's interesting because Catholics, we do a lot of rituals. There's rituals throughout the Mass, and when I was younger, my grandma would take me to underground healers. And so when I started getting into this, I told her that, like, I remember you taking me to those people. And now I am one of those people, except I don't subscribe to any single religion. And is that wrong? Is it wrong? Because all it comes down to is, does it make you a better person? Are you hurting people? Are you helping people? You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of the stance that I took that broke the generational curse of staying in marriages that were abusive or unhappy or unhealthy, toxic, dysfunctional, but also having the freedom to choose for myself and not just what my family wanted me to do, wanted me to be, whatever. I'm not saying all of them are like that, but some families like mine, they have kind of like a hierarchy, like, you know, grandma runs the show. The older generation is the one that, like, kind of sets the tone for all the cousins and the siblings and whatever, right? So I tend to bring in and attract a lot of cycle breakers, is what I noticed. So I thought I would share that about myself. The matriarchy. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, that was the word that I was looking for. Not scrapbooks, but collages. I love collages. Yes, planted with new stones. Seeds are being sown. Have you seen or heard of Dolores Cannon? Is that her last name? Don't quote me. I know it's Dolores, but anyway. She has some predictions that are playing out as we speak. Yeah. I think this is Saturn retrograde. If you're in Aquarius or Capricorn placement, watch your life change right before your eyes. Nothing is going to look the same. And ultimately the collective in general, because we are going direct in Pluto and Aquarius in October. So Aquarius is very humanity driven. Hi, I'm an Aquarius sun. Yes. Me and my psychic friends and mentors have been talking about this a lot. People moving into different groups, soul family, tribes. And the idea is, you know, it takes a village. It really does. Like if you think about indigenous culture, their tribes protect each other. And now we got a little bit, under exaggerating, government overreach. Death to celebrity and influencers, not literally, but the end of a cycle here. A lot of people are noticing that. Much is being revealed. Pay attention. Discern, discern, discern. It's not about the follower numbers, the following subscribers, the views, whatever. I personally go through a sweep with my social media and get rid of any bots or suspicious accounts, and I'm just like, man, if we don't vibe, that's fine, but I'm not looking to number climb. Although nice when you run a spiritual business, but people like assume that you're successful now just based on your Instagram following or your numbers. And man, you know, you can buy those. You can buy those. For me, I can't be bought. So I always have people actually like push back on me when I don't want them to follow me or I remove them, and I find it freaking hilarious because it's like I have the free will to choose who's in my energetic space. And I don't even need to explain myself, but sometimes I will. And they'll like get so upset and offended. And I'm just like, dude, that definitely does not make me want to change my mind. Hi, Grace. Hello. That's true. Gosh, you know it. You know it. These cards are so interesting. Oh, yeah. Belief systems are definitely shifting, evolving at a fast rate. And a lot of these are all internal manifestations before they even show up in your external 3D world, right? Isn't it? I love this deck. Gosh, what is her name? Is it Stacy Grace or something like that? She's like a small Etsy deck creator, but a lot of her decks are like collages and they're kind of poetic and random, but I like that. Leo energy. Some of my friends were just talking about this on their live. I posted it on my Instagram. Ah, man, I just went through like, okay, I guess we'll talk about it here. I went through an interesting situation where one of my tarot clients, who has become my friend over the years, he was one of my first coaching members, actually. He was reacting not well to me taking a step back and pouring more into myself, and you know, my attention was just in other places, and he kind of reacted in a very immature, passive-aggressive way. And he was just like one example of many that have been kind of reacting this way. And it has to do with like a mother wound, mothering yourself. And I know this because I've had to do shadow work on that as well. But with the Leo energy, you might see a lot of people reacting like a toddler, basically. Not nurturing themselves, but looking for other people to emotionally regulate them, those kind of things. And last night I was kind of ranting on my Insta stories about how, you know, I know that I have a lot of mother energy. You can see it all over my chart. Every person that sits with my chart says so. And that's why people feel replenished when they get readings from me and they talk to me. However, I am only a mother to 2 boys. And if I feel like, you know, they're not getting enough energy from me, and you're taking away from that and taking away from my energy to take care of myself to be a mother to them, then we got some problems. And I'll have to tell you about yourself. If not, I might even just block you and not even explain, because after a certain amount of time, I always say 3 strikes you're out, but I usually give people a lot more chances than that. A lot more chances than that. And I was like, you know what? Not today. I don't care if you've sent me $1,000 for readings. I will demand respect because I earned it. I worked on myself to be able to say that and do that. And I have the expectation for other people to do that for themselves. Healers and readers, we do not heal you. We show you the way so that you can show up for yourself, right? And so Leo energy, sometimes on the shadow side, they'll react a certain way to get attention, even if it's bad attention, just for the sake of reaction. And so bullying behavior, don't even feed into it. Like, well, if you watch my awakening story, you'll kind of know my background in that some of it hasn't stopped. Like, I still have stalkers and abusers that are alive to this day that just, like, will not leave me alone. And I had to tell myself, like, okay, new Allie, if you feed it any kind of energy, it doesn't matter if it's a good or a bad reaction. The fact that you're feeding it at all, it's just going to keep going and progress. And I was like, you know what? They don't deserve a second thought. They don't deserve a response. And I don't need to explain myself. I'm going to have to get this one. Yes, highly recommend. Are we on Aquarius? Well, technically it's a collective read. And we were just talking about how Pluto in Aquarius is going to be direct in October. However, I've been saying this for a long time. And I'm an Aquarius sun, so I tend to have like a lot of experiences that the collective has been going through as a whole, except that it's been my whole life. And so for me, I just story tell my life experience so that other people can feel some kind of like, you know, relevance, resonance, to make sense of like what's happening. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think America's birth chart is an Aquarius. But if you, I don't know when you got here, Grace, but at the beginning of the video, we were talking about Lilith a lot. for whatever reason, Spirit wanted me to focus on that intention today. And I was like, that's crazy because my root chakra was on fire last night. And the last time I felt that kind of sensitivity was the last few years when I did energy work on the sacral and the root chakra. So if you feel called to move around, like, okay, these are the patterns that I'm seeing with the collective. A lot of people walking away from jobs or being bullied at their job. Maybe you're dealing with a horrible manager, or HR is not advocating for you. Feeling casted out from your friend groups, friend betrayals. What else? Feeling like you don't fit in with your family, or maybe even reuniting with your blood family. It could go either way. It really depends where you're at and what's going on with your chart. But a lot of changes when it comes to like how we feel nurtured and connected and having like-minded values and beliefs. And so people are definitely seeing the contrast. And I would say pay attention and don't change yourself in order to fit in. Like, that's going to be dead and gone. And now they're emphasizing a song. God, I don't even remember any of these titles. The old me is dead and gone. I've been traveling on this road so long. What is that song? Is it Justin Timberlake? Maybe. Maybe. Okay. I think that's all I have right now, but anyway, thank you guys for joining. I hope you got something out of that. If you're in need of a personal reading, go ahead and check out my links. But until next time.